Okay, so this is the actual analysis of the poem Disabled, similar to what we did in class. I might extemporize a little bit and do a few different things. The very first thing that we identified, and which is the most identifiable feature of many poems, is the rhyme scheme. And we looked at the fact that, yes, there's a rhyme scheme, but you couldn't say it's a regular rhyme scheme because it's not the same all the way through the poem, partly because the poem itself doesn't have stanzas of equal length, so that obviously affects how the rhyme scheme runs. However, so I started here, I identified an A, so the first rhyme we used the first letter A, dark and park. Next, grey day, gave that a B, him, gave that a C. And I was going to start the second stanza again, but I really feel that this actually is a continuation of the B rhyme. Oh, hey, okay, that's my cat. Awesome. It's very dying. That's my cat. But then we start again here. So trees. I might give that let's just continue with the alphabet. D, trees, knees. Give that a D and a grey. There we go. And disease. I'll give that a D as well. Dim. Not sure what colour I've used yet. Give it a. Let's go red. Call that E. Dim. Slim. And hands. D. That's grey. And hands doesn't go anywhere, so we'll call that an F. And I'll give that. Oops, I'm highlighting now apparently. Okay, so we can see that I had gone and continued with this, but we won't worry about that for now. So in the next stanza, we've got face, brace, race, year, here, dry, thigh. So there is a regular sort of alternating line, alternating rhyme pattern going through that kind of varies a little bit depending on how many stanzas there are. And the stanzas are different because the numbers of lines in the stanza are different because they're different ideas, so they're taking different amounts of lines. Okay, so that's one feature you can talk about. The other thing we're going to talk about is, excuse me, so some of the other literary devices. So, so the allusion for his ghastly suit of grey, I guess I should start highlighting things I'm going to underline. So this is really an allusion. Let's go back to our normal colours. So allusion with an A to the so they were still in the army, so even when they were recovering from their injuries, they were still in the army and they were still given a particular suit to wear, so they were kind of identifiable as a recovering or recuperating serviceman. Legless, sewn short at elbow. This isn't a literary device, but I just wanted to make this point again, that some interpretations of this poem call this guy a quadruple amputee, so he's lost both his arms and both his legs. However, the elbow is singular here, so I think there's an interpretation to be made that he's lost both of his legs because he's legless, but sewn short at elbow is singular. Maybe he's only lost one arm. I don't think it really affects the message of the poem. Probably adds a bit of pathos depending on your point of view about disability. Certainly the thought of somebody sitting there with no arms and no legs is more disturbing and more pathetic in the visual sense than somebody who's perhaps still got one operating limb. I'll leave that to you. And so then we move on to, so we've got things like voices of boys rang saddening like a hymn being a religious song played in church. The voices rang saddening like a hymn. You could say that the voices, which are, I suppose, technically an inanimate thing, it could apply some personification there. Certainly the image is that he's hearing the young voices of the boys playing in the park, and they're making him feel as solemn and as reflective as hearing a hymn in church. It has that effect on him. Voices of play and pleasure after day, till gathering sleep has mothered them from him. So this is a metaphor. He's obviously referring to the fact that the boys were playing until their mothers collected them or they returned home to their mothers. So they have been mothered from him. He possibly feels an absence of his mother. He's possibly reflecting on the fact that when he was a boy, he'd run home to his mother when it got dark and it was time to go in. Let's give that a little underline and a little metaphor. What colour are we in? Metaphor. So about this time of night, okay, so he's waiting for dark. It's obviously getting cold because it's the sun's going down. About this time, the town used to swing so gay. So swing, reference to the music of the time. Swing music is the big thing at the time. Recorded music had just become really available to the masses, and we were in the cusp, this far away from the Roaring Twenties and that amazing time of jazz and swing music. The glow lamps budded in the light blue trees, and girls glanced lovelier as the air grew dim. So the lower the light, the prettier the girls looked. And in the old times, before he threw away his knees, so in his time before the war, now he will never feel again how slim girls' waists are, or how warm their subtle hands, all of them touch him like some queer disease. So again, like gay up here, queer is in that literal sense of strange, unusual. And it's also a reference to the fact that the only girls he has contact with now are nurses. And in those days, it was very common for patients to be referred to or treated as whatever was wrong with them. So he would be the amputee in bed 15 or whatever. So whereas he used to dance with girls, now the only way they touch him is when they are perhaps treating him. There was an artist silly for his face, for he was younger than his youth last year. Now his younger than his youth is a reference to down here when he didn't have to beg to join the army. They wrote his smiling. They wrote his lie, aged 19 years. So when he joined the army, he was younger than 19. 19 is already, you'd say, pretty young to be joining the army. So he was younger than his youth. Now he was old. His back will never brace. This makes me really think of Dulce et Decorum Est, the first Wilfred Owen poem that we looked at, when he's talking about the way these young soldiers are walking along like they're old men. They're bent double under, from carrying sacks and knock-kneed and shuffling. So the chances are he's not very much older than the fake 19 that he put on, his papers when he signed up. So the chances are he could even still not be 19. But he's considered old because he is broken. His back will never brace, so he will never be able to, lift a heavy weight. He's lost his colour very far from here. So his colour refers to his blood. I'm going to make that red, just to be kind of literal. Colour. So people often talk about, you've got a bit of colour in your cheek. It means you've got more blood, you're redder in the face. So he lost his colour very far from here. Whoops, that shouldn't be there. Poured it down shell holes till the veins ran dry. So this is a bit of exaggeration, hyperbole. He didn't literally lose all his blood in the shell hole where he got blown to bits. He obviously lost a significant amount of it. If he'd lost all his blood, he would have died. So he's poured his blood down the shell holes till the veins ran dry, and half his lifetime lapsed in the hot race, and a leap of purple spurted from his thigh. So half his lifetime, this could be a reference to the fact that his life has flashed before his eyes. It could be a reference to the fact that his future life of being an active man has poured away in this instance of being blown apart and bleeding to death in a shell hole. In the hot race and leap of purple, so this is talk about the blood leaving his body, pouring out. Blood's quite hot. Feels hot to the touch when it's really fresh. Leaf of purple, arterial blood spurts, gross, hideous. So we're talking about his injury, getting injured, and losing his life, losing his future through this injury, through this blood loss in this shell hole. One time, so we've gone back in the past a little bit. One time he liked a blood smear down his leg after the matches carried shoulder high. So football matches. It was after football when he'd drunk a peg, it was after football when he'd drunk a peg that he thought he'd better join. So he'd had a victorious football match, very successful, feeling kind of really top of things. Had a few drinks, and he thought, it'd be a really good idea if I joined up. He wonders why. Someone said he'd look a god in kilts. So this is where we get one of our illusions. Just deciding what colour to highlight it in. Let's do it in green. So, and this refers also further down to, so he said he'd look a god in kilts, and that's why, and maybe too to please his Meg. That was it, to please the giddy jilts. Jilts being girls who tease the boys and then don't come through, or dump them, or go away. He asked to join. He didn't have to beg. So he thought of jewelled hilts, daggers in plaid socks, some salutes, care of arms, leave, pay arrears, esprit de corps, I'll talk about them in a second, and hints from young recruits. So kilts, jewelled hilts, and daggers and plaid socks in particular are allusions to a Scottish regiment. And plus also the eye, that was it. Give that a green as well. So these are allusions to the fact that he's a Scottish soldier. They wear a kilt, jewelled hilt of his sword, daggers in the socks that they wear with their kilts. So no, he's a young Scottish man. So we've mentioned this slightly. So he went off to join the army. He didn't have to beg. They were like, yeah, that'll be great. Please join. They went along with his lie, saying that he was 19. He didn't think of the Germans. He didn't think of the Austrians. Wasn't worried about that. Had no fear. He was thinking of only the trappings of being in the army. And this really makes me think of that Jessie Pope poem of, well, you, my laddie, go and wear the khaki suit and have the processions and have the drums, played for you, that kind of thing. That attitude of, wow, this is an amazing adventure, how cool, this is so fun, yay, it's going to be great. And then we're back in the Institute. So he's gone through this trip down memory lane from where he is, back in history, reasons why he joined the army, how he got injured, and now he's back again, noticing that women don't look at him, they look at the fit, strong young men, and now he just wants to go back to bed. And I think that this is an important poem because a lot of this was forgotten at the end of the war, that there were all these injured men. So I think that although it's a sad subject, it's still an important one.